All right, well, Justin, CBS News has learned that Congress has adjourned, and that is without hammering out a new coronavirus aid deal. They were hoping to pass a deal that would have an additional $250 billion dedicated to small businesses. Here is what we know so far. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell wanted his chamber to greenlight the money specifically for small businesses, but Democrats wanted some of the funding to go to hospitals and local governments, as well. So both plans were blocked by the other party. So let's bring in Wall Street Journal congressional reporter Siobhan Hughes. Siobhan, break this all down. What did the Democrats want? What did the Republicans want? Why couldn't they meet in the middle?
So Mitch McConnell had a very specific proposal, an additional $250 billion for the plan known as the Paycheck Protection Program. All he was doing was changing that number. Mitch McConnell said that 30% of the original $350 billion was already spoken for, and that money needed to go out the door. Democrats said not so fast. Democrats were concerned that Mitch McConnell would be able to advance his priority, leaving Democrats without enough leverage to advance theirs. More money for hospitals, as you said, more money for states and local governments, and the ability for states and local governments to use that money for things like making up for lost sales tax revenue. And so it was going to be impossible to meet in the middle if Democrats felt that their leverage was being taken away.
So, Siobhan, the historic $2 trillion legislation that was passed by Congress just 2 weeks ago earmarked some nearly $350 billion for small businesses. What's going on with that money?
So with that money, 30% of that has already been spoken for. And so that money is starting to run out. But from the perspective of lawmakers who are hearing from their constituents, especially Democrats, a big problem isn't just the amount of money available, but the way that money is being distributed. One of the problems, for example, is that some banks are rejecting requests from customers with whom they don't already have existing relationships. So if you are a small business owner and you walk over to your local bank applying for money, you can be told, we're sorry, you don't have an existing relationship with us. There are other problems from the Democratic perspective, and probably from the Republican too. For example, it can take a long time to process these applications. There are know your customer requirements that can take a while to process. And so it's just a thicket of problems for applicants to get through.
So speaking of this $2 trillion, the president fired the inspector general that was meant to oversee the distribution of this money. Does Congress have any plan to figure out who will be minding the money?
So there will be other people technically, nominally overseeing that money, because each of the congressional leaders did have the right to nominate their own member to the board overseeing that money. However, the big problem is that President Trump has said he's not interested in oversight of this funding. And so, as with so many other issues, for Democrats especially, but really for some Republicans too, the outcome will be determined by the November elections. At this point, it is up to the American public.
And Siobhan, as you know, Congress is also working on a Phase 4 economic relief package. I note that Nancy Pelosi warned on Wednesday that the administration's $250 billion request would not pass the House. What do we know about this proposal?
So we're going to hear a little bit more from Nancy Pelosi at about 11:15 when she speaks. But in terms of this proposal, the contours are likely to be similar to the plan that you saw Democrats try to advance on the Senate floor this morning before they were blocked by the Republicans. So it would be, for example, $250 billion for small businesses. Again, there's universal agreement on that number, but Democrats would like to tailor it in a way to make sure it's accessible to smaller businesses, to minority businesses, to entities that may be cut out during the current process. Democrats also want more money for state and local governments.
Really, really interesting. These are sort of the...
Go on.
Sorry, Siobhan, go ahead, finish up. I thought I think your mic cut out for a second.
Oh, okay. The $150 billion, a big thing Democrats want is for the money to help states make up for the lost sales tax revenue, for example, that they're suffering. And Republicans feel that it is wholly inappropriate for the federal government to come in and solve a budget crisis when, in their minds, the federal government should be there to help provide a cushion against the healthcare crisis.
Really, really big issues that the Congress and the Senate are wrestling with. And Siobhan Hughes, always there to clarify for us exactly what is happening there on the Hill. We appreciate it. Stay safe. Be well.
So good to be with you.